There are 3 boys who grew up like brothers. Poor, but always together. No money, no connections, but they had each other. One day, something changed. They went somewhere dark. And only 2 of them came back. Watch this video to the end. You will be surprised. If you're new to this channel, welcome, please subscribe so you don't miss our next story. But if you've been here before, thank you for coming back. Like this video and enjoy. Now, let's get to the full story. Maxwell, John, and Jude. 3 names, 1 bond. They were not born in the same house, but they grew up like family. From when they were small boys, they did everything together. They played together in the dust, fought for each other in the streets, and shared one plate of food without complaining. People in the neighborhood used to call them the 3. If you see one, the other 2 were not far behind. They grew up in the same area, an old part of Abuja where the houses had cracked walls and the roofs leaked when rain came. But they didn't mind. Life was hard, but they had each other. That was enough. As they grew older, they started to dream. They all went to school, worked hard, and graduated with hope in their hearts. They believed things would change. That after school, they would find work, make money, and take care of their families. But life didn't go that way. After school, job after job turned them down. They walked all over the city, interview here, rejection there. They typed CVs in small cyber cafes. They borrowed transport fare from their mothers. Sometimes they even trekked back home under the hot sun because they had no money left. Every evening, they would return to the same small room they shared. 1 mattress. 1 small fan. They would sit on the floor, break bread together, and talk about life. They laughed. Sometimes they cried. But they always told themselves, better days will come. They watched as other young people in the city drove big cars and lived in big houses. They saw girls wearing fine wigs and holding expensive phones. They saw boys with nothing yesterday now eating in big restaurants and traveling to Dubai. They heard people whisper, that one just made money. Nobody said how. John would sometimes stand by the roadside and count the number of G-wagons that passed in 10 minutes. Jude would look at his shoes, worn out and tired, and say, one day, I go change you. Maxwell, the quiet one, would just smile and say, make we just hold on small. Something good go come. But good things did not come. Not for them. Days turned to weeks. Weeks to months. And slowly, something inside them began to change. They started to feel like the world was passing them by. They had no money. No job. No future. But they still had each other. At least, for now. One evening, when the sun had gone down and the noise of the street had become quiet, the 3 boys climbed up to the rooftop of their house. It was a flat building with an old zinc top. That was their thinking place. Up there, the wind was cooler. The stars were clearer. And sometimes, silence helped them feel better. That night, the silence was deep. No one said anything for a long time. They just sat there, legs hanging, eyes looking at nothing. Even the usual small jokes and laughter were gone. You could feel the tiredness in their hearts. Then, Jude spoke. He said they had tried. They had done everything they were told to do. Go to school. Get a certificate. Stay out of trouble. But nothing came out of it. No job. No chance. No help. He said if life doesn't want to give them something, maybe they should take it by force. He said they should try juju. At first, it sounded like a joke. Maxwell shook his head. He didn't like the sound of that word. John stayed quiet. But Jude continued. He said he had heard of people who went from nothing to something after going to see a barber. He said he knew someone who made it that way. Big car, Big house, just like that. Maxwell said it wasn't right. That kind of money brings death, not peace. But John said something else. He said they had been poor all their lives. Nobody helped them. Nobody even saw them. He said maybe this was the only way to change that. He said they would do it together, and whatever happened, they would face it as brothers. Maxwell didn't answer for a while. He looked at the city lights far away. He thought about his mother, always praying. He thought about the small food they shared every day. Then he said, just once, never again. Only this one shot. The next day, Jude made a call. A man picked up and gave them an address. It was in a village at the edge of Abuja, far away from the main road. They were told to come at night. They were told not to speak to anyone about it. And just like that, the journey began. From that moment, things were never the same again. They left in the middle of the night. No bags, no calls, no goodbye. Just silence. The road was long, and the taxi man didn't ask questions. He dropped them near a forest path, far away from the city lights. They walked the rest of the way with only moonlight to guide them. The air was cold. The trees made strange sounds. Even the birds were quiet. After walking for a long time, they saw a small light in the distance. It was a fire, burning low beside a small old hut. That was the place. The Baba was sitting on a wooden stool. His hair was white like ash. His skin was dry and full of cracks. One of his eyes was white and blind, the other sharp like a hunter's. His voice was low and slow, like someone talking from a deep well. He didn't ask who they were. He already knew. He told them this money was not free. He said it comes with a price, a heavy one. He looked at them one by one, then said the words they would never forget. 3 days. 1 coffin. 2 shall rise. 1 must stay. At first, they didn't understand. Then he pointed to a large wooden coffin beside the hut. It was real. It was ready. Fear started to grow. Maxwell looked at the coffin and took a step back. His body became weak. His breath slowed. He wanted to turn around and leave. But Jude and John stood still. Their faces didn't move. They had already made up their minds. The Baba went inside the hut and came back with a small calabash. Inside it was a dark powder. He gave a pinch to each of them and told them to swallow it. He said it would prepare their spirit. Then he told them to lie inside the coffin. Together. Maxwell's legs were shaking, but he didn't want to be the only one left behind. He trusted them. He believed they were still brothers. He believed they would all wake up again, together. So, one after the other, they climbed into the coffin. No words. No prayers. The Baba closed the lid. Then silence. 3 boys entered the coffin. Only time would tell who would come out. Inside that coffin, there was no light. Only darkness. Deep darkness. The kind that makes you forget time. The kind that makes your body feel like it is floating in nothing. At first, there was movement. Slow breathing. Tight spaces. 3 bodies lying side by side. No sound, no speech. Just quiet. As the hours passed, the breathing became slower. The heartbeats became soft. The silence became heavy. They turned into night. Night into another day. And another. 3 days passed. On the morning of the 3rd day, the coffin opened. The lid creaked. The sun touched their faces again. But only 2 eyes opened. Only 2 chests moved. Only 2 hearts were still beating. John sat up first. He looked confused, then afraid. Then he looked around. Jude was waking too, coughing, breathing hard. But Maxwell. Maxwell was still. His eyes were closed. His body was cold. He did not move. They looked at each other. Then they cried. But it was not the kind of tears that come from pain. It was not the tears of loss. It was something else. Their tears came from a place mixed with shock, guilt, and something darker. A feeling they could not name. A feeling they did not want to explain. The Baba stood beside them, quiet. He did not shout. He did not smile. He only said the words in a calm voice. You are rich now. But remember, the spirit watches. John and Jude stood up. They did not speak. They did not look back. Maxwell was gone. But their journey was just beginning. And even though the money was coming, something else had also started. Something they could not see, but would one day feel. They returned to Abuja like kings. Everything changed. From boys who begged for bus fare, they became men who threw money without counting. Nobody asked where the money came from. They just watched and followed. John was the first to make moves. He started buying land in big places, Gorimpa, Wus, Metoma. People were surprised. Even his family didn't understand how he rose so fast. But he smiled and said it was hard work. He bought houses and gave one to his mother. He paid off old debts. He hired boys to drive him around. His clothes changed. His phone changed. His work changed. Jude followed close. He didn't buy land, but he lived like a movie star. Every weekend he was in a new club. Every night he slept in a different hotel. He started dating one big Nollywood actress who posted him every other day. He gave her gifts, phones, wigs, bags. She told her followers he was the love of her life. They believed her. People started calling them the new boys of Abuja. Influencers invited them to parties. Photographers chased them around. Girls lined up just to say hello. They were always in the news. Always trending. Always shining. But when the cameras went off and the lights went out, the truth was different. John could not sleep well. He would lie down in his big bed, inside his mansion with air conditioning and quiet walls. But something inside him was never quiet. He would close his eyes and hear Maxwell's voice. Calling him. Asking him questions. Sometimes laughing. Sometimes crying. He would wake up sweating. He started locking his room at night. Not because of thieves, but because of shadows. Because of voices. He never told anyone. Jude started drinking. At first, it was for fun. A little wine, a little whiskey. Then it became every day. Then it became every night. Then morning. He would wake up with shaking hands, pour himself a drink, and stare at the wall. On that wall was a photo. It was old. A picture of the three of them. Smiling. Back when they had nothing, but still had everything. Jude kept it there. He didn't know why. He never told anyone. When the actress asked about it, he said it was just an old friend. But sometimes, late at night, when he was drunk and alone, he would sit in front of that photo and talk to it. Like it could hear him. Like Maxwell was still listening. On the outside, life was sweet. But on the inside, something was breaking. And though they didn't say it out loud, both John and Jude knew one thing. This kind of money came with something else. Something they could not touch. But it was there. Waiting. At first, it looked like nothing could go wrong. John and Jude were still living large. Every day brought new clothes, new people, new shows. But slowly, small things started to happen. Things they could not explain. One day, John's car stopped in the middle of the express road. No warning, no sign. The engine caught fire, and he barely jumped out before it exploded. People gathered. Some said it was an accident. Others looked at him strange. He bought a new car that same week. But 2 weeks later, the driver lost control and hit a pole. The car was gone again. Jude was sleeping in his penthouse one night when he woke up. His bedsheets were wet. He looked in the mirror beside his bed. There was blood on his face. No cut, no wound, just blood staring back at him. When he turned to check again, it was gone. He thought maybe it was a dream. But his heart was beating too fast. Too real. Then came the phone calls. John's phone started ringing at odd hours, midnight, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Each time he picked, there was silence. No voice, no breathing. Just air. Sometimes it was Maxwell's old number. Sometimes it was a private number. He blocked them, but they kept coming. Jude's phone too. The same thing. The same time. The same silence. They began to fear. The lights in their houses started flickering. Dogs barked at them on the street for no reason. Their food tasted strange. They felt cold in warm rooms. One night, they both dreamt of the same thing, Maxwell sitting inside the coffin, looking at them. They didn't wait any longer. They left Abuja and went back to the forest. They didn't call ahead. They just went. The Baba was already waiting. Like he knew they would return. He said nothing at first. He only looked at them. Then he spoke. You have eaten from the pot. You have tasted the sweetness. But every sweetness needs another blood. You must bring 3 girls. Each must be 20 years old. Each must be a virgin. You have until the next full moon. Then he turned and went back inside. They didn't argue. They didn't ask questions. They just nodded and left. But finding those girls was not easy. This was not the village where you could walk to someone's door and talk to parents. This was Abuja. A big city. A city of smart people. A city where nobody followed strangers. John went back to his old streets, tried to find girls from his past. Nobody answered him. Some laughed in his face. One girl said his eyes looked dangerous. Jude went to clubs, lounges, even churches. He found girls, yes, but once he asked too many questions, they ran away. News started to spread. People whispered. Something is off with these boys. Something is not right. The actress left Jude. John's own workers stopped picking his calls. They had money. They had power. But they couldn't find what they needed. And the moon kept rising. The days passed fast. The weeks ran like water. And the fear inside them started to grow. They began to see Maxwell everywhere, inside windows, on streets, behind curtains. But he never spoke. Just watched. The countdown had begun. The full moon came. Then it passed. And when the night went quiet, something broke. It started slowly. People noticed Jude was not coming out as much. He stopped going to clubs. He stopped answering his phone. 1 or 2 people said he was still around, but different. Always sweating. Always looking over his shoulder. Then one morning, in the middle of Gaki Market, something happened that no one expected. Jude was seen walking barefoot. His fine clothes were gone. His body was dusty. His hair scattered. His eyes wide. He walked from one end of the market to the other, laughing and shouting words that made no sense. He pointed at the sky. He shouted at invisible people. Then he started removing his clothes, one by one, until only his skin was left. The traders screamed. People brought out phones. Some ran away. Some just stood and watched. They said, "Is this not the same Jude who used to throw money here last week?" That same day, John was found sitting on the road in front of a bank. He was dressed in a suit, but his face was empty. He stared at the wall and kept saying one name. Maxwell. Over and over again. Maxwell, I'm sorry. Maxwell, forgive me. Maxwell, please. People gathered. Cars stopped. Some tried to talk to him. He didn't answer. He just kept talking to the wall. Like the wall was alive. In less than 1 week, the whole of Abuja was talking. The rich boys from Gorimpa are now mad. People who used to beg them for money now watched them like a show. They had no guards. No drivers. No phones. No fame. Nothing. Their houses were empty. The gates left open. The once shining floors now dirty and quiet. Nobody lived there anymore. The cleaners left. The cooks left. Even the dogs ran away. The cars. Gone. Some sold. Some seized. Some never found. John and Jude started sleeping anywhere they found. Bus stops. Uncompleted buildings. One man said he saw John eating from a dustbin behind a shopping plaza. Another said Jude fought a child for bread in a bakery trash can. From glory to nothing. From fame to shame. From suit and tie to mud and madness. And somewhere, in the same area where they all grew up, a woman sat on a broken wooden bench. Her wrapper was old. Her eyes red. Her hands shaking. It was Maxwell's mother. Every evening, she came out to sit in front of the same house the 3 boys once shared. She didn't speak much. She just sat there, looking down the road. Like she was waiting. Sometimes she cried quietly. Sometimes she prayed. They took her son. And now, the world had taken them too. Sometimes in life, what you are looking for is already on the way. But if you don't wait, you will miss it. Maxwell was the quiet one. The calm one. He believed in time. Even when things were hard, he kept hope. He always told the others to hold on. That their story was not finished. But they did not listen. What they did not know was that, just 1 week after they entered that coffin, an email came to Maxwell's old address. It was from a company in South Africa. A big company. They had seen his application months ago and were finally ready to call him. They offered him a job. A good one. With visa, house, and a salary that could change his life. If Maxwell was alive, he would have seen it. He would have shared it. And maybe, just maybe, the 3 of them would have gone together. Started a new life. Built something clean. Something real. But that future was gone. Because they wanted it now. They didn't want to wait. They wanted to shine fast. They wanted to belong. They wanted people to look at them and clap. So they went to the forest. They entered the coffin. And they came back with money that had a shadow behind it. A shadow they could not run from. Now they walked the streets. No shoes. No name. No memory of who they used to be. People point at them and laugh. Some feel pity. Some don't care. But the truth is clear. The same hands that once held car keys now pick food from trash. The same mouths that once ordered the most expensive wine now beg for sachet water. The same men who once ruled the night now sleep under broken bridges. All because they chose the fast lane. All because they could not wait. This is not just a story. This is a lesson. Riches that come through blood do not stay. Sweet things that come too quick will leave quicker. And when they leave, they take everything. Even your mind. Even your soul. In a small village far from the city, the sun was going down. The sky was red. The air was calm. Under a big old tree, children were sitting on the ground. Their eyes wide. Their ears sharp. They were listening to an old man with gray hair and a soft voice. He sat on a wooden stool, his walking stick beside him. He looked tired, but his voice still carried weight. He had just finished telling the story of Maxwell, John, and Jude. The children were quiet. Some had their mouths open. Some had their hands on their chest. They could feel the story. It was not just a tale. It was real. The old man looked at them and nodded. Money is good, he said. Nobody wants to suffer. But not all that shines is gold. Some gold is dust. Some riches are poison. He took a deep breath. Maxwell was the only true friend among them. He believed in tomorrow. He believed that patience brings peace. But they let greed kill him. They didn't see him as a brother anymore. They saw him as a step. The children looked at each other. One small boy raised his hand. What happened to the baba? He asked. The old man raised his eyes to the sky. That baba, he said slowly, was never seen again. Some say he walked into the forest and never came back. Some say he was not even human. But the truth is this, he vanished. Just like the money. The wind blew gently. Leaves moved. The old man stood up. Always remember, he said, you may not have everything today, but if your hands are clean, your peace will last. The fast road is not always the right one. He took his stick, turned, and walked away. The children stayed under the tree, thinking. Quiet. Still. Because sometimes, a story is not just for listening. Sometimes, it's for changing how you live. Now that you have heard this story, think about it. 3 boys started life together. They struggled, they hoped, they laughed, they dreamed. But when the chance to get rich came, they threw away their brother. They forgot where they started. They forgot who stood by them. And in the end, they lost everything. So let me ask you. Would you ever sacrifice your friend for money? Type yes or no in the comments. Let your voice be heard. What do you think about John and Jude? What would you have done if you were Maxwell? And if this story touched you, or made you think, or opened your eyes, even just a little, share it. Subscribe to the channel. Tell someone else. We still have many more stories to tell. Stories that teach, stories that warn, stories that guide. This is not just about listening. This is about learning from those who came before. Thank you for watching. More will come. Stay with us.